Good morning, Uganda. Welcome back from the Heroes Day celebrations and from that long weekend. Finally, the week starts officially, so get ready, get up, and make sure that you are planning to go to work so that your hands are blessed. But also be careful out there because the automated traffic fines system hits Ugandans really, really hard. And it's one thing that you should watch out for and be careful on the road while you hit the road to make sure that you go serve your nation. Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono is with me, Julie Nantaba Mosisi, and we are your hosts this morning. Good morning, Uganda. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Julie, and our viewers. Thank you very much for waking up and starting your day with us.
True indeed. What are you looking at?
Well, there's so much news that happened yesterday, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. Now, I want to begin with the political temperatures that are heating up, and I want to start with the NRM party. Now, there are some seats in NRM that now this is at the SEC, the Central Executive Committee, which is the top organ. There are some areas I'm interested in. First and very interesting is the National Vice Chairman, Women for NRM. Now, that seat is currently held by the former Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. And guess what? The Speaker of Parliament, the current Speaker of Parliament, remember these are also members of Parliament as well in their constituencies. The Right Honorable Annette Among, she's coming for the same seat. Now, I want to guarantee you, Julie, this is going to be a very interesting race.
Indeed.
You have former Speaker and a Speaker. They are both mighty people in the NRM party, I must say, and the seat is currently being held by the former Speaker, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. Now,
interesting.
Also,
I saw Honorable Namuganza standing behind Honorable Kadaga, someone with whom they've been at loggerheads for the longest time. This time round, she said, "This is Mama Busoga, and I'm standing behind her."
Well, politics is very fun. I saw also Anderson Urora with the current Speaker. Remember what happened to Anderson, saying we've made up.
They reconciled.
They reconciled.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting race is NRM Western region on SEC. This is currently held by Honorable Dr. Chris Badiomonsi. Now, here comes a young man who passed through unopposed as NRM chairperson, Hoima City. That is Engineer Janad Asimwe. This man for the position of NRM chairperson in that particular area was not opposed. He's young, energetic, very entrepreneurial, a business-minded person, and he has that vote. Now, one of the areas that has been really very hot has always been the Western region, getting the representative on SEC. At one time, I remember even we had one of the in-laws of the first family who tried and was put aside. We had Mateo Chaligonza, Honorable there. So Western has always been very, very hard. Now the question is, will Engineer Bernard Asimwe, the young blood, the new blood, be able to outcast Dr. Chris Badiomonsi, or will Dr. Chris Badiomonsi bounce back? Now to Noop, very interesting. Yesterday we saw the president of UPC, Honorable Jimmy Akena, going and meeting Robert Kyagulanyi. They had a secret meeting, and they said they won't disclose the outcomes. Jimmy Akena, Honorable, refused to disclose anything regarding the meeting. Also, Robert Kyagulanyi was just giving a tip of what happened. Now, Akena has been so much on the side of NRM, one would say. Now, what pushes him to national unity platform? We saw also, that is Elias Lukwago heading PPF, in absence of Dr. Kiza Besigye, also in the same bed with Nope, saying you cannot take this alone. We need to galvanize forces. Will that see the light of day? But also coming to Noop, picking interest forms. Yesterday, someone picked for Kampala Woman District Member of Parliament, currently taken by Honorable Shamim Malende, who is sick. Now, this
and has been sick for the most part of her service.
Now, this has raised a lot of dust in National Unity Platform. People are saying, people are not fair. You're just not fair. Shamim Malende, for what she has done for the party, I think this is wrong for someone to come up and pick forms. But these are people showing interest. Well, I'm not very sure how Noop does its things, if this will take the card or what will happen to Honorable Shamim Malende. So I'm very critically watching. I'm watching the NRM Western region. I'm watching the NRM Vice Women National, who will take it for that too, because those are very interesting positions. But also something really did augur well with me yesterday.
Right.
On the 10th, which is today, His Excellency was expected to go at the Namugongo site for the Muslims. Now, I first heard of Muslim matters by Professor Badiru Katerega about 6 years ago, or even more. Now, I was with Professor and he talked about this. I laughed because I told him, Professor, I want Muslim matters, but he brought books, he brought information.
Fact,
so I began to talk about Muslim matters. Little did I know that was going to pick so much. Now, the president is alleged that government gave 200 million to help in preparation, where the president is going to come, and this was going to be a very historical event. Now, yesterday what happened, Muslims in Namugongo said we did not get a penny of that money. And now the old Kampala bosses seemingly forcefully want to come and take over, destroy some property that they are preparing for His Excellency. So they brought resistance, some slept there armed with pangas, whatever it is. That whatever it is, we shall also be matters of this regime, should anyone from that side step foot here. And later, the old Supreme Council, that is at old Kampala, sorry, the Muslim, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council held a press conference and said the president and the function will not happen that side. Now let it happen at old Kampala. But the question that came to my mind, if this is all about pilgrim at the Muslim matters, where they were martyred and where even a mosque was constructed, how then do you shift such a function to old Kampala Gaddafi Mosque? And you're going to have the function there.
Wow, a lot of chaos in there. Ultimately, I hope peace prevails, because that's what the president is all about, and that's what we as Ugandans are all about. Ultimately, peace, 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 peace. That's the sermon that we preach. But on that note, Robert, take us through what is on the local scene.
Well, I want to begin with yesterday's celebrations of Heroes Day. That was in Lyantonde. Now, the president, that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, pledged continuous support to people who individually offered support to his 5-year NRM guerrilla liberation struggle in Luwero Triangle. The presidential continuous pledge followed persistent complaints from the families that offered materialistic support and human resource that have never been compensated, contrary to his promise after the war. President Museveni made the remarks at the celebrations to mark the 36th Heroes Day held in Lyantonde district under the theme, The Legacy and Ideas of Our Heroes, a Memorable Inspiration. President Museveni, alongside the First Lady Janet Museveni, who arrived at Kaliro Technical Playground at 1 p.m., started his speech by faulting the State Minister for Luwero Triangle, Alice Kaboyo, as to why the money that was released for the bush war fighters has not been given to them till date. Museveni cited ghost beneficiaries or corruption that might have played in the process. Museveni's action was ignited by complaints from some of the people who supported the liberation struggle and haven't benefited. Although the State Minister for Luwero Triangle, Alice Kaboyo, talked of having dispersed 218 billion shillings to 87,100 war veterans as part of his presidential pledge in the area that were affected by the war, President Museveni pledged to construct the Remiyaga, Ntusi, Gashema, Kabula, Koki, Rubugumu, and Mutukula Road in Lakai district. Relatedly, 50 Ugandans were recognized with medals in different categories for their exceptional contribution to the country. The award of these medals took place in Lyantonde district, where the 36th Heroes Day celebration for this year was held, with President Museveni presiding over the ceremony as the chief guest. The medalists were in the categories of military, civilian, and police service award. At least 50 were recognized with medals in total, while others were recognized not in absence, as reported by the Secretary Presidential Awards Committee, Hajat Zaina Malole. Hajat Zaina said the awards should act as an inspiration to the rest of the citizens to work hard with patriotism. Over to matters of security. Security operatives in Kasese district have recovered an AK-47 with thugs who have been using it to terrorize the population in Bukonzo County West. On Tuesday last week, a group of gangs invaded the home of Bwambale Gerard, the LC3 chairperson of Kyoga Parish in Bwera sub-county, and shot him to death. According to the DPC Bwera Division, SP Tai Ramadhan said the AK-47 with 34 rounds of ammunition was recovered at the banks of the river Kyanzi in Bwera sub-county, bordering Mpondwe, Rubiriha Town Council. He also revealed that so far 5 people have been arrested and will be produced in courts of law. He noted that the joint operation with the UPDF is ongoing to crack down those still at large. And now finally, on the local scene this morning, the Chinese Community Party has pledged to offer more. The Chinese Communist Party has pledged to offer more support, mainly towards the youth-centered programs of Uganda and the NRM party as a way of cementing its relationship with Uganda. This was part of the decision held between the visiting CPC delegation and the NRM secretariat held in Kampala. As Uganda heads to the general election, the Chinese Communist Party has expressed optimism about a free and fair process. Retired Major Paula Awuch, the director in charge of external affairs in the NRM party, welcomed the delegation from the Communist Party of China at the NRM secretariat. The CPC delegation, led by Ms. Roa Huai, the party's director in charge of internal liaisons department, arrived in Uganda on Sunday, the 8th of June this very year. At the secretariat, the two parties exchanged ideas and mainly about how they can coexist. Major Paula represented the party's Secretary General Richard Todwong, who was away on official duties. The discussions also touched on how Uganda and China can foster their diplomatic, trade, and bilateral ties. The 2026 general elections were a matter of interest by the visiting Chinese delegation. The NRM team was formed by mainly members who have ever been to China. The Communist Party members who are in Uganda for 3 days visit are expected to interact with the first Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda, Rebecca Kadaga, among others. Well, with that, we come to the end of our local stories this morning.
Thank you very much, Robert. And moving on to what is on the foreign scene, starting with Trump, the Pentagon will send a Marine battalion to Los Angeles in a major escalation of President Donald Trump's response to anti-immigration enforcement protests, the United States military has said. The statement yesterday confirmed the activation of 700 Marines to help protect federal personnel and property in the California city where Trump had deployed the National Guard a day earlier. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said later yesterday that an additional 2,000 National Guard troops would also be mobilized. The announcements came despite opposition from state officials, including California's Governor Gavin Newsom, who has mounted a legal challenge to the deployment of the National Guard. In a statement, the military said the activation of the Marines was meant to help provide continuous coverage of the area in support of the lead federal agency. Speaking to the Reuters news agency, an unnamed Trump administration official said the soldiers would be acting only in support of the National Guard and other law enforcement. Now, moving on to the Middle East, Gaza's healthcare system is extremely fragile amid the ongoing Israeli war. The International Committee of the Red Cross has warned. The organization said in a statement on Sunday that the enclave's hospitals are in urgent need of protection and reinforcement amid Israel's continued bombardment and blockade. It added that the system is facing growing pressure due to the increasing casualty rates. In the last 2 weeks, the Red Cross fielded Hospital, pardon me, the Red Cross Field Hospital in Rafah has had to activate its mass casualty incident procedure 12 times, receiving high numbers of patients with gunshots and shrapnel wounds, ICRC said in a statement on X. An overwhelming majority of patients from the recent incident said they had been trying to reach assistance distribution sites and that it continued. Hundreds of Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire around 8 distribution sites operated by the U.S. and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, since it launched on May 27th. Now, coming back to the continent, and that is in Kenya, a British soldier accused of raping a woman near a controversial army camp in Kenya has been sent back to the UK. As investigations continue, the BBC understands that the alleged rape happened last month close to the British Army training unit Kenya Batuk near the town of Nanyuki, 200 kilometers north of the capital, Nairobi. The man was arrested by the UK military and questioned following the alleged incident, which occurred after a group of soldiers visited a bar in the town. An investigation is being carried out by the UK military police from the Defence Serious Crime Unit, which looks into crimes allegedly committed by British service personnel in the UK and overseas. The UK Ministry of Defence confirmed in a statement that a service person had been arrested in Kenya. Unacceptable and criminal behavior has absolutely no place in our armed forces, and any reporting of a serious crime by serving personnel is investigated independently from their chain of command. The MOD said the alleged rape involving a soldier from the British base in Kenya follows previous allegations that a soldier stationed in Kenya was involved in the murder of a local woman in the year 2012. Well, such a sad story, but it brings us to the end of what is on the foreign scene. Let's have a look at what's in the press today, Robert.
Well, it will go down the history. Let's see how it ends. We need more of those to study, though they're very regrettable and unfortunate.
Right.
Will we see justice, or will we the usual?
We hope. We hope
for justice. I have the Daily Monitor with me this morning, and a very big headline there: President vows action over theft of heroes' money. And also Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Total Energies Marketing Uganda Limited, Term and Education Local Enterprises Center. Now there are tenders there for you. Look at what you can supply. This could be your breakthrough in life. Now, very interesting, uproar after Amongi calls Museveni God. Let me continue. New traffic order bites. My dear, people are now even looking for other routes. If you're going to Entebbe, you rather take shortcuts there, panyas, than using the main where these cameras will be able to get you. Still in the Daily Monitor, 14-year-old girl struggles to support her 3 siblings. Well, that is also another. And the lizard comes in here where we have uproar after, that is Anita calls Museveni God. Maybe he's her savior. Yes, the lizard is asking a valid question. Indeed. As well. Yes. I agree. You know, and what you pay for, what the express penalty scheme, the renewed fines someone has to pay, they are there. Speed at 6 kilometers per. So there's so much you need to know and be able to dodge these monies, because in 3 days the receipt has doubled and then things are not that good for you. Well, the vision, and in the new vision we have Museveni. In the new vision this morning we have Museveni probes war veterans missing cash. And still the new vision brings you regarding how beauty trends are damaging women's hair. My sister. And court orders audit of Tycoon Chiwanuka's property. Still 30% school children suffer mental problem. That is a report. And UPDF Colonel arrested over alleged robbery. The law is biting up. Picture there where we see the president. This could be some of the veterans. And you know what is very surprising? You will always remember many of them by name and face.
I know, right?
That is something that I always find very interesting. Recently, there was one he called and hugged. Oh, no, Charlie, Charlie. The man remembers them, their place of abode. Indeed, what a statesman.
I know, I know indeed.
Take us outside Uganda.
Well, looking at what is outside of Uganda and starting with Tanzania, that is in the Citizen. Youth in focus as TIC sets $15 billion goal. That is a headline in the Citizen. And in there, Samia's directive to police ahead of general election. And also UK trade envoy in Tanzania to promote investment ties. And manufacturing had the most projects. Now that is looking at some of the reports that come from the Youth in Focus as TIC sets $15 billion goal. But also a story there is Zanzibar plans to have own airline. That is in the Citizen. And finally, NHC set for improved governance efficiency after law amendment. But heading over to Kenya, the commanders, that is the headline. And in there are pictures of Douglas Kanja, Eliud Lagat, and Mohammed Amin, plus a picture there of a blogger who was allegedly really murdered after he posted about a Kenyan official on his ex post. In the Daily Nation still, execution. Kenyans look up to top police bosses for answers as to who killed teacher in custody. And that is the picture of the teacher. Now, teachers issue strike warning over pay. But looking at agriculture, Kenya's coffee yield set to grow, improve earnings, and also health. SHA demands full annual premiums to treat patients, and also president's mounting debt headache. And that is in the Daily Nation. Now that wraps it up for what we have in the dailies today. Please buy yourself a copy to see all of the detail so that you stay as informed as possible. But for now, Good Morning Uganda does continue, but we take a short break as you prepare to leave home, or as you prepare to start your morning, as you prepare to do whatever morning activity you do. Do enjoy a song from Levexon, Chikibombe.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
That are heating up, and I want to start with the NRM party. Now, there are some seats in NRM that now this is at the SEC, the Central Executive Committee, which is the top organ. There are some areas I'm interested in. First and very interesting is the National Vice Chairman, Women for NRM. Now, that seat is currently held by the former Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. And guess what? The Speaker of Parliament, the current Speaker of Parliament, remember these are also members of Parliament as well in their constituencies. The Right Honorable Annette Among, she's coming for the same seat. Now, I want to guarantee you, Julie, this is going to be a very interesting race.
Indeed.
We have former Speaker and a Speaker. They are both mighty people in the NRM party, I must say. And the seat is currently being held by the former Speaker, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. Now,
interesting.
Also,
I saw Honorable Namuganza standing behind Honorable Kadaga, someone with whom they've been at loggerheads for the longest time. This time round, she said, "This is Mama Busoga, and I'm standing behind her."
Well, politics is very fun. I saw also Anderson Urora with the current Speaker. Remember what happened to Anderson, saying we've made things, we've made up.
They reconciled.
They reconciled.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting race is NRM Western region on SEC. This is currently held by Honorable Dr. Christopher Diomonsi. Now, here comes a young man who passed through unopposed as NRM chairperson, Hoima City. That is Engineer Janad Asimwe. This man for the position of NRM chairperson in that particular area was not opposed. He's young, energetic, very entrepreneurial, a business-minded person, and has that vote. Now, one of the areas that has been really very hot has always been the Western region. getting the representative on SEC. At one time, I remember even we had one of the in-laws of the first family who tried and was put aside. We had Matayo Chaligonza, honorable there. So Western has always been very, very hard. Now the question is, will Engineer Bernard Asimwe, the young blood, the new blood, be able to outcast Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, or will Dr. Chris Baryomunsi bounce back? Now to NUP, very interesting. Yesterday we saw the president of UPC, Honorable Jimmy Akena, going and meeting Robert Kyagulanyi. They had a secret meeting, and they said they won't disclose the outcomes. Jimmy Akena, Honorable, refused to disclose anything regarding the meeting. Also, Robert Kyagulanyi was just giving a tip of what happened. Now, Akena has been so much on the side of NRM, one would say. Now, what pushes him to national unity platform? We saw also that is Elias Lukwago heading PPF in absence of Dr. Kiza Besigye, also in the same bed with NUP, saying you cannot take this alone. We need to galvanize forces. Will that see the light of day? But also coming to NUP, picking interest forms. Yesterday, someone picked for Kampala Woman District Member of Parliament, currently taken by Honorable Shamim Malende, who is sick. Now, this
and has been sick for the most part of her service.
Now, this has raised a lot of dust in National Unity Platform. People are saying, people are not fair. You're just not fair. Shamim Malende, for what she has done for the party, I think this is wrong for someone to come up and pick forms. But these are people showing interest. Well, I'm not very sure how NUP does its things, if this will take the card or what will happen to Honorable Shamim Malende. So I'm very critically watching. I'm watching the NRM Western region. I'm watching the NRM Vice Women National, who will take it for the two, because those are very interesting positions. But also something really didn't augur well with me yesterday.
Right.
On the 10th, which is today, His Excellency was expected to go at the Namugongo site for the Muslims. Now, I first heard of Muslim matters by Professor Badi Lukaterega about 6 years ago, or even more. Now, I was with Professor and he talked about this. I laughed, because I told him, Professor Mwaga, I want Muslim matters, but he brought books, he brought information.
Facts,
so I began to talk about Muslim matters. Little did I know that was going to pick so much. Now, the president is alleged that government gave 200 million to help in preparation, where the president is going to come, and this was going to be a very historical event. Now, yesterday what happened, Muslims in Namugongo said we did not get a penny of that money. And now the old Kampala bosses seemingly forcefully want to come and take over, destroy some property that they are preparing for His Excellency. So they brought resistance, some slept there armed with pangas, whatever it is. That whatever it is, we shall also be matters of this regime, should anyone from that side step foot here. And later, the old Supreme Council, that is at old Kampala, sorry, the Muslim, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council held a press conference and said the president and the function will not happen that side. Now let it happen at old Kampala. But the question that came to my mind, if this is all about pilgrim at the Muslim matters, where they were martyred and where even a mosque was constructed, how then do you shift such a function to old Kampala Gaddafi Mosque? And you're going to have the function there.
Wow, a lot of chaos in there. Ultimately, I hope peace prevails, because that's what the president is all about, and that's what we as Ugandans are all about. Ultimately, peace, 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 peace. That's the sermon that we preach. But on that note, Robert, take us through what is on the local scene.
Well, I want to begin with yesterday's celebrations of Heroes Day. That was in Lyantonde. Now, the president, that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, pledged continuous support to people who individually offered support to his 5-year NRM guerrilla liberation struggle in Luwero Triangle. The presidential continuous pledge followed persistent complaints from the families that offered materialistic support and human resource that have never been compensated, contrary to his promise after the war. President Museveni made the remarks at the celebrations to mark the 36th Heroes Day held in Lyantonde district under the theme, The Legacy and ideas of our heroes a memorable inspiration. President Museveni, alongside the First Lady Janet Museveni, who arrived at Kaliro Technical Playground at 1 p.m., started his speech.
That the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvesters in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geography we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for being on UBC TV. And if you've just joined us, you're welcome. If you've been with us since the start, thank you so much for being on the show. Always here every weekday to start your day. Now, the Butawika Hospital's director, Juliet Naku, last week expressed the fact that hectic school schedules are causing greatly the increase in numbers of mental illnesses amongst school-going children, something that is very alarming and something that we are choosing to look into this morning. Now, that report being said and expressed by Dr. Juliet Naku, it begs the question, how in the world did we get here? Because as far as I remember, at least growing up, the hectic school schedules that were expressed from morning preps to usual classes, to evening preps, to weekend classes, to holiday classes, to homework, weekdays that is, to weekend homework, to weekend school, has been existing along the way. And by the time it's expressed in this day and age, it looks like a whole generation has been taken away by this particular exercise. Now, if you're a parent, be on the show and engage. If you're a teacher, this is pertinent. Be on the show and engage. The number is 0709-602-592. A little later on, in just a jiffy, we shall have an expert to speak into this. But for now, Robert Chirabonyonyintono, myself and you are sharing our mindset and our 2 cents on this particular topic. Robert here, between the two of us being the parent, I believe he has an experience of what it's like for his child and for his children. Myself, having been a student and obviously soon looking forward to being a parent, I definitely have an experience and a vantage from which to speak into, but you also have a vantage, so be a part of the show. Robert, as a parent, I don't know if your children are in the system yet, but at least you know what it means to wake up early as 5 a.m., be in class for morning prep, be in class for school class time, the normal schedule, and then be in class for evening prep, and then be in class for weekend class, be in class for holiday programs, coaching, and probably also have homework at that, and weekend homework and holiday homework, and my goodness. But Butawika has finally come out to state that this hectic school schedule is causing an increase in mental illnesses amongst school children. It came out last week on the 5th of June, and reading it, I thought to myself, where have they been all of these years? Because a whole generation is down, affected by that particular cause.
Now, I'm going to point out a number of factors, because your question was, how did we get here?
Right.
One, yes, I'm a parent with school-going children. One circumstance has had to force her before she was ready to start school. Now, first, let's briefly look at the history of education in this country called Uganda and why it is what it is today now. To begin with, we had the missionaries. Now, missionaries consisted of those that were from the Anglican and the Catholics. They brought education. One would say they wanted people to read and write, and of course the gospel was going to be spread through reading. You don't have to read the Bible. Later, our brothers, the Muslims, came in also, and they ventured into education, but they also needed people who are going to help them extend the gospel, but also extend the rule of their countries where they came from. So there's people who could read, who could speak English, who could help them administrate in the administration process. Now, they built schools for that purpose. That's why if you look at the education system, now we have made some amendments or changes with the lower secondary curriculum, but previously we were churning out job seekers. I'm coming out, someone has to give me a job. That was planned by our colonial masters. Now, this school wasn't of anything like that, but to produce such caliber of people. Now, as time went by, we had what we call community schools, where Julie and I are educated, we come from the same area, or one of us says, no, we need to have a school so that the born of this area can also go to school, excuse me, because you have tested the benefit of education, so they can also study. Now, still when you look at the nature of those schools, it was basically to educate people of the village. It never had anything deeper. Now, hell broke loose when the privately owned schools came in that are aiming at making profit. And now, that brought in the grading method where your school is marketed basing on how your performance is. Now, here, Julie, is where problems came from. That I want to have my children pass very, very well, so that the next year I can even advertise, we had these 100 students, and out of the 100, all of them passed in first grade. Recently, there was the new grading, but still when people understood it, it still put these schools ahead. Because you would know that A means this, B means this, and it was well interpreted. So still, that became a problem, and this is why we are where we are today. That now, a child will tell you, for us, in second term, remember, and listen to this very well, I know parents, you've heard of this, Daddy, we completed all the work for third term in second term. Now, third term, we are going to be just revising. But remember, Ministry of Education and Sports has experts, I don't doubt. The National Curriculum Development Center has experts, I don't doubt. People who sat and who sit and plan that for P1, this is going to be the content they are going to study. You get this, Judy? This is the time they're supposed to study. This is the time they're supposed to use to revise. There's what we call lesson plans. Teachers, you know this very well. The government of Uganda planned very clearly when children should report to school, hours you should teach, it is all planned, and school begins at 8 and ends at 4, or now we have a few changes. But if you are to follow that curriculum, that plan, our children, government planned very well, they will not have mental challenges as a result of these pressures?
Right, like earlier we had mentioned, we would have an expert to speak into this. And on the call with us is Mr. Timothy Kalunji. He is a clinical psychiatrist, and he is the executive director of Classic Health Initiatives Uganda. Now, he is a consummate professional with a distinct body of knowledge, skills, and attitudes dedicated to better health care. And he is experienced in diagnosing and managing psychiatric disorders. Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Are you able to hear us clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Right, so we are looking at a report that was released by Dr. Juliet Naku, the ED of Butabika last week, and that is referring to the fact that there is an increase of mental illnesses amongst children, school-going children especially, due to hectic school programs, and that is why we decided to have an expert to speak into this matter. First and foremost, what do you make of this? I mean, by the time this report came out, a number of us have gone through that system, and it looks like a whole generation is down by the time it's reported. But what do you make of it as a psychiatrist?
Thank you very much, Julie. I'm glad to be here with you. And what I make of that report is that, yes, hectic school schedules are actually impacting children's mental health. That is a given. The reasons vary from one to many, but majorly we can, if we had to earmark, let's say, the academic pressure the academic pressure and overload that comes with it. You know, under this we have tight timetables, constant assessments, and high expectations, and these can cause, let's say, chronic stress. Then children may feel overwhelmed, leading to anxiety, burnout, and low self-esteem. The fear of failure we have had in the past. Instances still reported by leading dailies in Uganda of students, a student or two committing suicides simply because they did not meet the expectations as far as the academic goals were concerned when it came to these national exams. Then, of course, there is lack of downtime and play. Long school hours followed by homework and tutoring, leaving little time for free play, rest, creative expression. These are essential for emotional regulation and cognitive recovery. But most importantly, also sleep deprivation. You know, you've talked about a very critical point. That is early school start times.
Right.
Plus evening homework. You know, this results in reduced sleeping hours. Now, sleep deprivation, you as an adult, you might say, or adults actually tend to believe or to boast about the fact that for me, I sleep few hours a day, or some that sort. I am more of a machine, or I am always ready. But in children, sleep deprivation actually leads to a lot of downtime in terms of even classroom attention. You know, a child will be irritable. They can experience mood swings and poor concentration, increased risk of even depression and anxiety. So what I am to make out of this report is that it is spot on, it is timely, and the building of awareness and conversation around it is very, very critical, especially when it comes to the fact that we as parents, our number one role is to worry and look after the safety and safeguard our children. Thank you very much.
Now, Timothy.
Yes, please.
You're a psychiatrist. How do we raise awareness regarding mental health in children? Because many people think actually this is just about soft parenting, you know? Issues of mental health among children are not a priority. We usually look at the adults because we believe maybe they have so much on their heads and the stress takes on them, but we give little attention to the children.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. There are three critical stakeholders in this. Okay, we have, let's say, schools. Schools have to up their game in terms of incorporating mental health literacy and wellness time in their curriculum. Okay, and this comes from a point of knowledge. The school as itself has to be intentional in actually seeing the dangers of these hectic school schedules, but also mitigating these dangers. Then also the schools themselves have to reduce emphasis on, of course parents will not like this, or people will not like this, having grown up in a very strict and hectic schedule, reducing emphasis on constant testing. We have actually, when you look at the current curriculum, the new curriculum, the competence-based curriculum, it has done very well in terms of mitigating these risks. In our times, we used to have, let's say, we used to be graded first position to the last, right? Now with the new curriculum, the CBC curriculum, we are talking about competence, and there is no more Fs. There is no more failure. So you have meeting expectations, exceeding expectations, or some other kind of grading, which means that there is less pressure when it comes to a child having to look at their grades and say, oh my God, I was the last in my class. But also the schools also have to allow unstructured time for play and rest. Unstructured time for play and rest is that you don't have to stick to a rigorous schedule whereby, let's say, play is scheduled for 30 minutes in a day and the likes of it. Play can be actually spontaneous, and that is the whole point behind childhood, spontaneity. So you have to look into that. Then also offering school counseling services. As schools, they have to, it would be pertinent to actually have a program whereby they can offer school counseling services. Yes, there's a concern for costing, there's a concern for time and resources and the likes of it, but this is something that has to be done. Then for parents also, parents have to learn to monitor signs of distress in their children. I mean, a child saying that I do not want to go to school today. A parent should be concerned as to why the child should not go to school, does not want to go to school. But most of the times we are like, as in, no, you have to go to school, get into the car, and then practically you do not validate the child's emotions as to why exactly wouldn't you want to go to school, because maybe you're doing a school run, or you're also late for work and the likes of it. So, but also parents should see about prioritizing sleep and balance over performance, in the sense that yes, the child has homework, but then there is a time for sleep. How about going to bed, and then maybe when we wake up in the morning, we can attempt a few numbers. Then also advocating for age-appropriate academic demands. Yeah.
Right.
That is also critical. Then we have also policy makers. This is the third stakeholder, considering education reforms that promote holistic development, and also ensuring schools have trained mental health professionals they can call on who are at hand to mitigate these issues. Those are some of the few stakeholders that we can engage in creating the awareness. And when we create this awareness, the results can be baby steps, but at least we would be having some results on board. Thank you very much.
Now, Timothy, you mentioned about rest and having enough sleep, but there's a parent watching us who is in a dilemma now. These days, children start school very, very young. You know, maybe dad, you leave around 4:30, mommy will leave around 6. You have a maid, but you're not comfortable leaving the child in the hands of the maid. So you have to wake her up at 2, prepare her to go to a daycare or start very early class. Not because of the age, but that is what you must do. That is one. So that child will not have enough sleep, but also joined school earlier than they should have joined. Let's look into that. But also, there are circumstances today, many of the children are picked by school vans. And a school van may tell you that at your place we can arrive there at 5. So at 5, that means you're going to wake up this child at around 4:30, okay? So that you've prepared the child, and at 5 the school van can take this child. But also for certain parents who do drive their children to work, to school, now we have jam almost everywhere. Very few can stay within, but the day schools are a bit, so you have to wake up to beat jam. How does a parent listening to you today, what advice do you have for that parent?
My advice for that parent is simply this. You have to look at the long-term cost versus the benefit. What am I talking about exactly? Because these are risk factors for your child actually developing mental health issues. And rehabilitating a mental health issue is something that is very, very difficult. It is something that is very costly. It is something that is very impactful for the parent and the entire family. So by us putting school runs first, by us putting transportation of the kids to school first, at the expense of the risk of the child developing mental health issues, I think we are putting the cart before the horse. What is going to happen is this: that this, in terms of the long run, these are children who are more prone to developing mental health issues, and it is going to be it's going to result in more impact for the parent, if I can put it that way.
Right.
But being a realist as well, we have actually, and this is even I have been a victim of this. We have put the issue of performance before the health of our children time and again. But also schools, for example, they can have nap times for these. You talked about nursery kids. They can have nap times that when the child comes in, the very first thing they will do, maybe they should catch up on their sleep, okay, so they can have a productive day. Because however much you would like, as long as the child is irritable, as long as the child is having mood swings, as long as the child did not have a good restful sleep, they will not be productive in any way. That one you can be guaranteed. They will lose the greater part of the day, okay, and that means that you're talking about the law of diminishing returns in terms of performance. I don't know whether I have met your question.
Right. Timothy, as we begin to bring this to a close, would you share some of the most common mental health problems you've seen and cases you've experienced, as well as an expert in children, plus the signs and symptoms that parents can look out for?
Okay, thank you very much. Some of these, one of the major ones are anxiety in children. Anxiety disorders, these are characterized by, for example, excessive worry, fear, or nervousness. Take, for instance, a child who is worried about their school performance, or the homework that they did not complete. So the child will exhibit excessive worry or fear or nervousness. Then also under this we have, let's say, generalized anxiety disorders, social anxiety disorders, whereby a child cannot hold their ground, cannot hold their own in front of society, panic disorders. But then also we have depression. major depressive disorder, for example, this, we can put it down to a persistent feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and loss of interest. And symptoms under this include low energy, irritability, changes in appetite or sleep. You find that a child who used to eat very well is now eating less. Then you have trouble concentrating. Then also we have actually had cases whereby depression results into thoughts of self-harm or suicide, you know. And then we have attention deficit hyperactive disorder. This one is very common in especially in these little ones. You know, someone is inundated with inattention or hyperactivity and impulsiveness. Symptoms include, let's say, trouble focusing, forgetfulness, fidgeting, interrupting others. Remember when we were growing up in school, we used to talk about, you remember that one character
yes.
in class?
Right, yeah.
A teacher would earmark, oh, for you, you're being stubborn all the time, you know, it's not that the child wants to be stubborn.
Right.
But they could be battling this, all right?
Yeah.
Then we have a good one here where, like, say, oppositional defiant disorder. Here, whereby it's common in children, and the pattern simply being angry, argumentative, or defiant behavior being exhibited toward authority figures. Remember those? We draw from examples. Those particular students who are always in the staff room with teachers or
right.
in the headmaster's office, because they're not responding well towards authority. So here the symptoms are frequent temper tantrums, and even you as a parent, you can actually notice it at home, okay, whereby your child is exhibiting signs of frequent temper tantrums or blaming others for his actions or her actions, deliberately annoying others, refusing to follow rules. These are some of the things. Then we have also post-traumatic stress disorders. These ones develop after exposure to traumatic events, e.g. violence, abuse, and accidents. And the symptoms include, let's say, flashbacks, nightmares, avoidance, and emotional numbness. So there are quite a number of categories, but the things we should actually look out for. Right. Imagine a child at the age of 8, and they are in fear of going to school. Right. They are over worried about the homework that they did not do. They're actually even shaking and trembling, you know. They're showing signs of, they're irritable. You're trying to connect or break through to your child, but you just cannot break through that wall. Right. Those are some of the signs that I as a parent have to look out for. But also, even the adults in the school setting themselves, they should be emotionally attuned to the distress signals in the children that they are overseeing.
Right. Yes.
So that we can be able to work together to mitigate any challenges that might be coming across. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Timothy. We definitely need to host you here in studio to speak into the matter at length with that plethora of knowledge. But thank you so much for coming through. It's been very, very humbling for you to come on and share your education and knowledge with us.
Thank you very much, Julie, for having me.
Right. And with that being said, this conversation is very pertinent, one that requires experts to help us, speaking to us, and also show us the different ways we can have solutions. But I think my take home, Robert, has been the fact that seeing all these signs, I remember all the examples of children that I studied with that had all these hyper ADHD signs, and you'd wonder many of the times adults around us would just insult them or blame them, which is something that we need to change as adults in how we respond to all these signs and symptoms that we see amongst the children that are within our stewardship. This conversation is one that I look forward to having once again with Timothy Kalunji in studio with us. But that's it for today's Real Conversation. As a parent, you're the steward. As a teacher, you are the steward and you're responsible for this child. So do all you can to mentor and bring up a child capable for Uganda and not one destroying Uganda.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo,
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development will read the budget speech for the financial year 2025-2026 under the theme Full Monetization of Uganda's Economy through Commercial Agriculture, Industrialization, Expanding and Broadening Social Services, Digital Transformation and Market Access. Please listen to the budget speech on 12th June 2025 to know the budget priorities and the opportunities it presents. Our budget, our responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and all the budget month partners.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning again. My name is Zakia Lucky and we are on the GMU Tourism Express. We are still in Hoima and of course with the Uganda Tourism Board. With me is Dorcas, who is the Senior Marketing Officer, Uganda Tourism Board. We've done quite a number of activities, but today we did visit a school, which is what she's going to take us through, and would like to also understand the significance of activities like this, especially engaging students within tourism, about the tourism knowledge.
Good morning. My name is Dorcas Namaja, Senior Marketing Officer at Uganda Tourism Board. And I'm honored to be in Hoima during the Mpango celebrations. And part of the activities that we've undertaken is school outreach program. We aim at educating the students from primary to secondary level about the importance of tourism in Uganda. And today we had a very interactive session where we were telling them about tourism and the different facets in tourism, the different attractions that we have in tourism, but also quizzing them about their knowledge on tourism. We got to learn that the students are not well versed with some of the tourism attractions, and this was an opportunity for us to educate them. But also even the teachers as well were not so well versed. So it was really a great opportunity to share this information with the students, and I know that they had not left the same at all.
Yeah, you talked about the students and the teachers not being well versed, and within the activities you did teach them about this.
Yeah.
Do you plan on having another activity more like them visiting so that they get to see these things that you did tell them about?
Yes, actually we have, we're going to be working with the school administration where we are going to take on winners. We've had some winners who have taken on some prizes, but also have encouraged them to visit conservation areas like Uganda Wildlife Education Center, like Murchison Falls National Park, like Queen Elizabeth National Park, so they can be able to immerse themselves in the tourism knowledge, but also have first-hand experience of what tourism has got to offer. Yeah.
There are so many schools, and there's probably a school that is watching that might not get a chance like this. What message do you have to share with them?
For the schools out there, we encourage them to be able to explore Uganda. They can organize group tours and be able to reach out to us for any assistance in terms of getting park entrances, in terms of transport, in terms of the different activities that they can be able to do. But also we can be able to come in and educate the students about the different career paths that they can be able to take in tourism, but also the different attractions that we have in Uganda.
This is quite interesting for the students.
Yes, it is.
Please give us your last remarks.
To the Hoima people, thank you so much for embracing us and embracing tourism, and thank you for the Mpango celebrations. This is a cultural event that UTB acknowledges, but also we want to grow the cultural tourism in the different regions of Uganda. So us being involved in Mpango is one way of us activating and strengthening the cultural tourism in Uganda.
Thank you so much. UTB wants to grow culture tourism, and it has also not left out students. With us is the HM of Geneva SS in Hoima, who is going to be giving us the significance of this activity in this school.
Hello viewers, I'm privileged to have this chance, and I'm so grateful to Uganda Tourism Board having chosen Geneva Senior Secondary School. We are so grateful and we are happy because this is sensitization about tourism. And remember, tourism is now a pillar in Uganda's income. We are so happy and we are saying, come again. And this type of sensitization must continue throughout in all other schools. So thank you very much for visiting us. The significance of such a sensitization is to make sure that we explore and invite other explorers in Uganda to promote tourism and hospitality. We are therefore calling upon other boards which may work hand in hand with the Uganda Tourism Board to do the same as we sell out what we have for tourists outside Uganda.
Have you had any tourism programs in the school?
This has been the first tourism program at Geneva Senior Secondary School. But again, we are grateful that in sister institutions, tourism and hospitality management is already a course which is being taken up. And our students from here will just join the Kitara Institute and do tourism courses. So we are grateful.
Okay, thank you so much. One of the schools has been visited today and they're learning about tourism, which has also come out as a message encouraging you as a school that has not gotten this opportunity to embrace tourism, visit the parks and see also how to get knowledge about the tourism industry of Uganda. Well, we are still on Good Morning Uganda. Follow up and see what next we bring to you on this event.
Good morning once again. Thank you so much for being on UBC TV. Time for GMU Business. My name is Julie Nantaba-Mosisi, and we're starting off with digitization passion, and that is despite the setbacks that she has faced as a diaspora investor. Gloria Camara remains unwavering in her Pan-African vision of supporting the continent's effort to digitally empower public institutions and connect underserved communities. The CEO of Executory Africa carries the scars of being conned by criminal in suits, a painful experience that shook her trust but not her mission. An American-Ugandan tech entrepreneur, Gloria Camara, says she refuses to be discouraged, even after falling victim to scammers who exploited her patriotism and took advantage of bureaucratic loopholes. After reportedly losing $250,000 US to a well-coordinated network of both visible and invisible actors who prey on hope, vision, and the dreams of diaspora investors, Gloria insists she will not back down. She admits that in choosing to return to her motherland, Uganda, she underestimated how broken some of the gatekeeping mechanisms were. Gloria emphasizes that Africa is facing an urgent reality. By 2030, it will have the world's youngest labor force, and Uganda therefore has to rise and invest on or risk becoming mere consumers rather than creators in the global tech economy. Sad story there. But moving on, the owner of CNN and HBO Max, Warner Bros. Discovery, says it will split into two companies by the middle of next year. The U.S. media giant plans to separate its studio and streaming business away from its more traditional cable television networks. The move comes as streaming services attract hundreds of millions of users around the world, but cable TV has seen audiences decline in recent years. HBO Max has enjoyed success with shows including Succession, The White Lotus, and The Last of Us, while channels like CNN have been losing viewers. These hit shows will soon come under a new streaming and studio business, along with the company's film division, and be headed by Mr. Zaslav. The other new company will be called Global Networks, with CNN, Discovery, and TNT Sports amongst its brands. This business will be led by Warner Bros. Discovery's Chief Financial Officer, Ghana Widnevels. We are empowering these iconic brands with the sharper focus and strategic flexibility they need to compete most effectively in today's evolving media landscape, said David Zaslav, Warner Bros. Discovery President and Chief Executive. The splitting of the media conglomerate follows the 2022 merger that created Warner Bros. Discovery. Cable TV channels like CNN have been losing viewers in the recent years. Now, moving on, the row between U.S. President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk over a major spending bill has exacerbated uncertainty over the future of NASA's budget, which was already facing deep cuts. Now, the White House has requested huge cuts due to the space agency's budget, which would see funding for science projects cut by nearly a half. Now, the president had threatened to withdraw federal contracts with Musk's company SpaceX, further jeopardizing the U.S. space program. NASA relies on the firm's Falcon 9 rocket fleet to resupply the International Space Station with crew and supplies. The space agency also expects to use its Starship rocket to send astronauts to the moon and eventually to Mars once it has been deployed. Now, Dr. Simeon Barber, a space scientist at the Open University, said that the uncertainty was having a chilling impact on the human space program. The astonishing exchanges, snap decisions, and U-turns we've witnessed in the last week undermine the very foundations that we build our ambitions on. Space science and exploration relies upon long-term planning and cooperation between government, companies, and academic institutions. And that's it from GMU Business this morning. The agenda is up next, and we have a conversation on the election process of the special interest groups. So stick around, because Good Morning Uganda does continue. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. What you go? Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the Rider Selection Campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll-free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
tunafuna kasente wano kugana osubula ekintu nga wasobodde okukola naye nga tolina ka capital kate kamala naye kati kuba watandika otuwa kasente kati tulaba kati emirimu gitambulatambulako bulungi. Obulamu bwange tebwali bulungi ku byenfuna. Kubanga emirimu tulina ebirimu byaffe gya mu mutwe, naye ng'oluusi nga bimanyi olina osubula amatiyo mwokolamu ekyo ebintu ebyo. Kaneze ng'emipiira ng'egyo, tusala busi z'emmotoka, naye kati nga muntu akuleetera polopera y'emmotoka nga tolina sente zigula matiriyo. Naye kati batuwa akasente n'ogula ebintu ne bibeerawo, kasoma n'ajja n'omukolera ekintu n'agenda n'akusasula akasente. Obulamu bwange bwali tebwali bulungi kuba buli oba ng'ebyenfuna si birungi tosobola kuba bulungi. Era gwe nkubira abavubuka ba ghetto nti bannaaye tujumbire okola kuba buli oba okola gavumenti naye ekudduukire nekusanga w'okolera nekukolera akasente. Tweyanza nnyo pulezidenti ow'ekitiibwa pulezidenti tuteerawo ghetto ya Sako naffe otuddukire n'abantu b'ewansi twongera mu kabizinensi kaffe naffe tusobole okwekulaakulanya.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development will read the budget speech for the financial year 2025-2026 under the theme Full Monetization of Uganda's Economy through Commercial Agriculture, Industrialization, Expanding and Broadening Social Services, Digital Transformation and Market Access. Please listen to the budget speech on 12th June 2025 to know the budget priorities and the opportunities it presents. Our budget, our responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and all the Budget Month partners.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every...
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining UBC TV. I will always thank you because it's an honor to have you on the other side of your screen, following every current affair update from UBC TV and being sure that you are inspired every day. My name is Julie Nantabamusisi, and like I said earlier, we would be talking about the special interest groups elections. And in studio with me to do that is Mr. Richard Nsube. He's the Senior PR Officer of the Uganda Electoral Commission. Now, to be on the conversation, 0709-602-592. And this is important because in actual sense, elections have already started. If you thought elections were next year, well, you're wrong. They've already started. And in this particular month of June, started on the 2nd of June, elections for special interest groups and the whole process started already. And for some, it's been chaotic for some of the areas that we've been seeing within the news. But I know one thing for sure is you are affected and you're part of this very group, a special group that has to vote for a pertinent leader to speak for them, represent them, and represent their views in the different areas of service. Once again, save the number 0709-602-592 and be able to engage by your questions or opinion. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank
Yes.
you for loving Electoral Commission.
Right.
And thank you for serving this country.
Surely, indeed.
Yeah, we love UBC.
Right.
Your partners, and we always feel at home whenever we're here to speak to the country
Right.
about elections and anything that is electoral related.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Always important to hear it from the horse's mouth, they say, right?
Yes, yes.
So let's start from, just to build a preamble, what are special interest groups elections and why are they important within Uganda's broader electoral process?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think let me start with our mandate.
Right.
The Electoral Commission is mandated under the 1995 Constitution to organize, conduct and supervise elections and referenda in the country. So we are the managers of elections in this country. So we have categories of elections. We have the general elections where whoever is a citizen of Uganda and above 18 years of age and willing to participate in elections is eligible to participate in elections. Now, special interest groups, like the word special, you know, farms.
Right.
Special, these are groups of people that have a limitation in their day-to-day daily activities, the way they conduct their activities. It's a bit, they have some substantial limitations. So, and for affirmative action, I think that's under Article 32 of the same Constitution, talks about some of these groups that have been marginalized on grounds of gender, age, background. So as the Electoral Commission, we are mandated to make sure that these special interest groups, the ones that are a bit special, different from the rest, have representation, have their leaders that are going to speak for them. So as an Electoral Commission, we conduct these elections right from the grassroots to the national level to make sure that the different types that we shall talk about have representation, have their voices heard in all areas that where power, you know, lies.
Right.
Yes.
You remind me when you expressly define what special interest groups are and who is a special interest person. I hosted a gentleman yesterday who literally mentioned that why should we even categorize them like that? But definitely that's a story. Unless you have something to speak
Yeah, I
into.
think I've already hinted on it. Like I said, these are voters like any other voter.
Right.
But they have their special interests that need to be addressed by the government. So, and that can only be done through representation because not everyone should come and speak. So they have their voices heard from the villages. They elect their leaders from the villages to the national level. That's up to parliament. So that their voices, their needs, their concerns are heard and attended to. So we're not saying that they are special and whatever is given to them is very special. No. Because if there is a good road, it serves people with that are normal in terms, let me put it in quotes, and then those that have special needs. But then there are some other needs that are specific to them. like the older persons. They have their different needs, specific needs as older persons. The young people, the youth, they have their needs as young people, energetic people. They look at the future and they want someone to speak for them in areas where, where decisions are made. So we have people with disabilities. I think most people think when you speak of special interest groups, we're talking about people with disabilities.
Right.
No. We have the young people, those are the youth. We have the older people, the older persons who are who are 60 years and above, and then people with disabilities.
Right.
So we have to have that special representation where these voices are heard. Mind you, even women are part of the special interest groups, the marginalized groups. So they have to have that kind of representation so that their interests are also attended to.
Right.
Yes.
Which categories fall under SGIs?
Yeah, the categories, I think I've still talked about them. We have the young people. We call them the youth.
The youth, yeah.
Those are the ones that are 18 years and above, but below 30. Most people, I've seen some people who are 35 and they say, I'm a young person, I'm a youth. No, by law, you have to be between 18 years and 30. Then we have the older persons, Abajaja, the ones we call the Abakade. Let me simplify it in that way. Those are the ones that are 60 years and above, and they are only identified by age.
Okay.
The youth are identified by age. The older persons are identified by age. Then the people with disabilities, they have their different categories of disability. Now, those are the ones that have physical, mental, and sensual impairments. We have those ones. We have the little persons. I don't know whether I can break it. Little persons, people
Yes.
can understand. We call them in a local language Abakongo. They are small.
Right.
They are stunted. Let me
Right.
use that word. And then we have albinism. The albinism, those people that the albinos, people with that kind of skin defects. And then we have those that cannot hear or hard of hearing, those who cannot see. They have the amputees. Now that's a physical kind of disability. So now those ones have their different categories. How we recognize them. But for the young people, the youth, and then the older persons, we identify them by age.
Right.
Yes.
And who is eligible to vote?
For one to be eligible to vote, I want to give a scenario of the elections we had, I think in 2017, where we were electing chairpersons, village chairpersons across the
That was
country.
actually 2018.
2018.
Right.
And when we are sensitizing people and mobilizing people as electoral commission and other stakeholders, people would say, but me, I'm a resident of this place. I'm so-and-so's son, so-and-so's grandson.
Right.
So why should I register? Now, for you to be eligible to participate in these elections, for the different categories that I've talked about, the older persons, the youth, and the people with disabilities, one, you have to be a registered voter in the National Voters Register. Now, from after qualifying to be on the National Voters Register, then we shall extract a register from the National Voters Register to now comprise, for us to make the register for the young people. Like I said, we use the date of birth for us to know that this person qualifies to be a youth. Then for the older persons, we are going to use the same. We extract from the National Voters Register those who are 60 years and above, for you to be to qualify to be part of the register. But you have to be, because we do that, but you have to be willing. You know, for voting, you have to be, it's not mandatory for you to participate in elections. But for us, when we are extracting that register, we use those parameters. Then for the PWDs...
Allow me take you back a bit to the register.
Yes.
There's the recent exercises going on, the nominations going on. I'm forgetting the place, but we actually even talked about it this morning with Robert, my fellow host.
Yes.
And those participating in the election were complaining, especially those from the NUP party.
Yes.
They were complaining that when they go with their national IDs to be allowed to be a part of the process, when they are checked in the register, they are not there, they are not registered. And yet they participated in last year's, rather 2021's general election. So they are being told that maybe they never updated their information, or is that really a reason because they feel that this is something used against them as NUP party members, and yet their NRM counterparts are actually having a swift flow of the process. When they go represent their national IDs as citizens of Uganda, they are just checked and confirmed as part of being in the register, and just like that, they go through.
Okay, let me first treat them as allegations, first of all.
Yes.
But as a national electoral body, we do not discriminate people against in terms of age, in terms of political party or affiliation or beliefs, religion or anything. Everyone who qualifies to be on the National Voters Register has to participate in elections, either as a voter or as a candidate. So, like I said, if I'm to treat them as allegations, then let them be allegations. But if it's true it's happening, then it's wrong. Because for us, when we deploy people to work on behalf of the Electoral Commission, we want them to mirror the message that we pass on to them, that to make sure that whoever qualifies to participate in these elections should be attended to. If it's being done, then we condemn it. We condemn it, and it's wrong.
So should they have updated their information in the voters register?
Yes, because for us, like I said...
Is there a chance that someone's name could have, I don't know, slipped out or any form?
It's very hard. It's very hard because when we are looking at the register, we don't look at, because the register has no party colors. When you look at the register, you will see my name and my face. I'm going to see your name and your face. So, and this register is not extracted or worked upon by parties. You know, it's a national electoral body. That's the Electoral Commission. So we look at this register, and we look at those who qualify. We start extracting their particulars onto these different registers, the 6 registers. So it's very, very, very hard for someone to say that Richard has been discriminated because he affiliates with a different political party or does not belong to this other political party. So yes, people, you know, human beings can err through commission or omission. Maybe some people are trying to do that. Maybe someone can know that I don't subscribe to their party, and then they try to kind of do a few things that will eliminate me. But whoever qualifies as a youth, using the parameters that I've just talked about, you're a registered voter, you are 18 years and below 30 years. You have to be on the register. 2, I think some of them are being left out, I think, because like I was trying to bring up some story. Some people, for you to belong to participate in that election, you have to be a resident within that very village. Now, if I come from a village called UBC A, and then there's another UBC B, I cannot participate in elections.
Of UBC B.
So maybe that's where some kind of confusion can be. But because for you have to, it's a must, you have to belong to that very village for you to be able to participate in the elections, to be nominated or to participate as a voter.
Right.
Yes.
Now, 0709602592. Age is actually quite a big factor here because, as Richard has explained, that a youth is one who is 30 years and below. That means if you're 31 and above, you're now the future.
If you're 30 plus a few days,
30 plus a few days.
You're
not a youth.
You're not
wow,
a youth
you're now the future. So please take note of your age as you go on to participate, because you might get to your place of location of participating and then you cause quite some havoc stating that you're a youth, yet you are not. Now let's look a bit at the calendar. The village SIG committees nominations are started on the 2nd of June and they end today. And parish SIG committees nominations will take place starting 26th to 27th June. Sub-county town municipal division SIG committees will take place on July 14th to 15th July. Municipality city division SIG committee nominations will occur on the 24th of July to the 25th of July. District city SIG committees nominations are scheduled for August 11th to 12th, 2025. National Youth Council nomination campaigns and pollings are set for August 27th to 29th, 2025. Local government SIG nominations representatives are planned for December 8th to 12th, 2025. And of course, presidential candidate nominations will go on in October. But with that calendar, and particularly starting with where we are now, that is the special interest groups, how prepared is the EC?
Wow. We are prepared 100%.
Right.
100%. We launched the roadmap and the strategic plan for these general elections in 2023, around September. So we've conducted so many activities in between, leading to the polls, to what we call the voting day for the different categories, from president to local governments. The Electoral Commission has conducted so many activities. We demarcated electoral areas. We reorganized polling stations across the country. We have displayed the register.
Right.
We have we did the mapping of people with disabilities across the country. That's how we came up with this register for people with disabilities. So, and now we are now undertaking the special interest groups. We cannot proceed with the general elections minus the conduct of these special interest groups, because they feed into the other broader elections. So for us, we are extremely ready as the Electoral Commission, and we thank government for the funds, because at most times we struggle with funding and some of the activities stall. But we thank government for the funding. We thank stakeholders who are complying with our guidelines, our regulations, and our programs. And we think if this flow continues, where there's understanding, where there is everything and there's mutual understanding, I think we shall have free, fair, and credible elections.
What are the nomination requirements for SIGs?
Nomination requirements.
And you've hinted on bits of them here and there,
yes.
But now let's outline them for each category.
For someone, yes. These qualifications cut across. One, you have to be a registered voter within the National Voters Register. Then you have to be a resident of that very village, whether you're a PWD, a youth, or older person. You have to be a resident, not place of origin. If I come from Butambala as my place of origin, and I reside here at UBC village, I'm supposed to vote from, that's UBC my place of residence. So I'm supposed to be a resident of that very, then I'm supposed to be on that very register for that very category. For instance, right now I cannot claim that, yes, I'm Super Richard, everyone knows me, and I want to contest as a youth, because I'm way above that age. And I cannot go and claim to participate in the elections for the older persons, because I'm way below that age. I cannot just come and claim that I want to participate in the elections for PWDs, people with disabilities, because for now, I don't have any known disability. So you have to belong to that register. And like I said, that register was extracted from National Voters Register. Now, nominations are at sub-county, town or municipal divisions. That's where the nominations are. We pick nominations from there, and that's where we return the nomination papers. There are no nomination fees required. There are no academic qualifications required for you to participate in these processes. One, like you said, you have to belong to those categories first. Then you have to be a resident from that very village for you to progress. Then you have to you have to support, you're supposed to, let me come again. You belong to that very village. Right. You are a registered voter, and then you belong to that very category of the special interest groups.
You're a youth?
You're either youth.
You have a special need.
Yeah.
You're an older senior
person.
Citizen.
Yes.
Right.
60 years and above. Yes.
0709-602-592. It's the WhatsApp number that you can engage and ask your questions to Mr. Richard Suve. He is the Senior PR of the Electoral Commission. And in particular, we are talking about special interest groups elections that are ongoing as of right now. Now, engaging what you've so far sent, what lessons did you learn from Kawempe by-election that can be a stepping stone for this election season? This is Council Lawrence Muchunguzi, your namesake. I don't know which one is the name that is his namesake, but thank you so much, Council, for getting in touch. Would you care to answer Council here?
Yeah, first of all, it's not my namesake.
Perhaps he has a Richard somewhere.
They share a name with my boss, Julius Muchunguzi.
Okay, makes sense.
Yes. They had head public relations.
Yes, makes sense.
Yes. Kawempe by-election, first of all, I don't want to speak a lot because we are still in court. But the lessons we learn is, as stakeholders, let's all try to abide by the laws and the rules that govern elections. If we do that, if everyone plays their role, if you are a voter, play your role as a voter, because the rules are specific and very, very clear. If you are a journalist, play your role. If you are in security, if you are an officer of the Electoral Commission, if we play our roles to the dot, then we shall not have this. The problem we have is people have made elections a life and death kind of approach.
Right.
So you either win or win or win. It's either a win for me. So if we go into elections to serve, not to look at elections as a kind of a business or a job, we have a lot of people have spent a lot of money in elections for them to win. So the stakes are high. So for us as Electoral Commission, our plea, our appeal to the stakeholders is make sure that when you go into elections, the mindset you have is for you to serve the people, not to be served. Why inject billions of money in an election? What's behind your mindset? Because it means that in case you lose, we've had people,
right,
going for loans, mortgage their houses, their properties to make sure that they win elections. For us, the election in Kawempe and the other by-elections and the elections, the general elections, our appeal is very simple. There are guidelines and rules that govern elections. Whether you are an EC staff or any other stakeholder, make sure that you abide and play within those rules. Then we shall have peace at the end of these elections.
Good morning, UBC TV. My name is Makerere Adimon in Kasese Municipality. May I know from Mr. Richard the measurable visible magnitude of sensitization that has been done at village level by the EC to facilitate smooth nominations of special interest groups? Secondly, these special interest group leaders do not appear to exert any visible influence on the village political leadership? That is from Makerere Adimon.
I don't know whether I got him Adimon very well, but I think...
the first one is, could you... he wants to know from you if the measurable visible magnitude of sensitization that the EC has done at village level to facilitate the smooth nomination process of SIGs.
First of all, in terms of sensitization, we've done our best. We have involved all stakeholders. And I think on Wednesday, actually not think, I'm very sure on Wednesday, we are inviting more stakeholders to take them through these special interest group elections. We have mobilized all village chairpersons to make sure that they sensitize the people. All media houses, traditional, digital, social, we are in these spaces. We have invited political party leaders, their general secretaries and others. We've taken them through these processes. And we are very sure that people know. But we need more stakeholders to keep on drumming and inviting, mobilizing people. Because, for instance, the people with disabilities, some of them have been marginalized. Some of them isolated. So they need some people to bring them on board. There are those people that are isolated, but they're leaders. Some of them have concerns, and they think that if I vote Richard in this office, maybe our concerns will be addressed. So we, as Electoral Commission, we rolled out a robust publicity exercise campaign to make sure that each and every Ugandan is aware. And we are still doing the same. The reason why when you invited us at UBC, we had to be here so that we speak to the people and they understand that special interest groups are very important to this country. One, they feed into the general elections. Then two, the leaders that emanate from these processes will represent the ideas and concerns of these special interest groups that we've just talked about.
Right.
Yes.
Throwing a lens in particular at special people with disabilities, physical disabilities, is there a way the EC is facilitating how they are actually getting to the polling stations?
No, we cannot do that because that's not our mandate. Our mandate is to make sure that the nomination processes are very clear, the nomination centers are very known and accessible. Now, how these people come, because some of them belong to political parties. So if I facilitated really a certain Ronnie, a certain Julius from somewhere, and he or she belongs to a certain political party, of course people are going to misunderstand it.
Right.
For us, what we do is make sure that one, there is a conducive atmosphere, and then there's publicity. And then we also talk to these people, the importance. You know, some people think, why do we have these elections in the first place? So we talk to them and let them know the advantages of participating in these elections. But we don't facilitate their movements from one place to another. Yes.
And is the Commission collaborating with any other societies, civil societies, to ensure sensitization, to ensure the smooth flow of the whole process for SIGs?
You cannot conduct these elections minus involving stakeholders, critical stakeholders. For instance, for the older persons, we've gone through their structures. They have their structures from national level to the village, or from the village to national level.
Right.
So we've engaged their structures, and some of them have come to the commission. The representatives for the youth have also come to the Electoral Commission, and then the older persons. We've also engaged so many civil society organizations, grassroots civil society organizations that do a lot of work in sensitizing these, the citizens. We've involved them to make sure that they mobilize and also sensitize these people that they're affected, or the target audience. As the Electoral Commission, we've also rolled out the regulations that govern these elections to make sure that people They're not ambiguous in nature, they're very clear. So to answer your question, we are engaging and collaborating with so many stakeholders, not even civil society organizations only, to make sure that the message, gets to the last person that is affected or will be affected by these elections.
Right, and staying on people who are being affected, I did ask you just in a short while if the EC has helped to, say, facilitate, for example, someone with a disability to get into the polling station, which has been a no-go area.
Yes.
But I'm thinking of now the sensitization process. Take a look at people with hearing disabilities who are unable to hear. Yes. Many a times we've noticed that when it comes to TV stations, when it comes to media council communications, there's always someone communicating in sign language for someone who cannot hear. So within the process of sensitizing about the whole process of SIGs and their election process, has there been a place from the EC to facilitate people with the use of sign language?
Challenges.
Yeah.
Yes, as Electoral Commission, we are very intentional. Now, if you notice, in the last maybe 1 year plus, every time we have a national conference, there's a sign language interpreter by any of the principals or someone presenting, so that we are speaking to someone who cannot hear but can interpret the language from the sign language interpreter. We've also engaged some organizations that have provided sign language interpreters at the lower levels, because they are there and they are being facilitated. So that at the end of the day, in case someone comes, not on polling day, it's in the pipeline on polling day, but on these other engagements, nomination days, so that if someone has questions and I cannot ably answer the questions, someone is there to help. Coordinate my message and then the message from the other person who cannot see or who cannot hear. So as a commission, we are very intentional. Such initiatives are in place. Of course, not everywhere, because the pockets, the funds may not allow, but we've tried in several places to make sure that people, the blind, or those who cannot hear, the ones we call hard of hearing, or completely deaf, at least someone is there to make sure that this message is passed on to them, and then from them to us. Yes. Right.
You are watching UBC TV, and in studio with us is Mr. Richard Nsube. He is the Senior PR of the Electoral Commission, and in particular, the conversation that we are having is on the elections of special interest groups. 0709-602-592 is the WhatsApp number that you are able to engage, so that you ask your question and it will be answered, or share your opinion that will be reflected on. Mr. Nsube, how is the EC guaranteeing fairness in this SIG election process? Free and fairness, what are the mechanisms?
The guarantees are there. They are glaring.
Okay.
One, we have made sure that the guidelines that govern these elections are disseminated and they are known. That guarantees fairness. We've also made sure that we publicize this activity, special interest groups elections, to the last person, so that everyone gets to know. Knowledge is power. So we make sure that everyone at least is in the know of what's happening. Then also, we've also deployed people from the parish, Electoral Commission staff, from the parish level to the national level. We have parish supervisors, we have sub-county supervisors at the district level, at the region, even at national level, to make sure that we drum up this information and everyone gets to know. This information is not only for the special interest groups. For instance, if I have information about, and I don't belong to that category, but I have a friend of mine who's affected, and I have this knowledge, of course I'll pass it on to someone. So we make sure that everyone gets to know of what is happening, And the outcome of these elections, the importance, most people think that because they want to only vote for their leaders at presidential, parliamentary, and local government, they are not sure why they should also participate in these elections. So make sure that we talk to them. We make sure that we mobilize political parties, because these are critical stakeholders. So, and then we train all our officials, ad hoc officials, to make sure that these temporary staff, the ones that pass on this information, are fully trained and well trained, so that at least the electoral process is very clear. We are very sure in case each and every person does what they are supposed to do, then we shall guarantee fairness, because people know the do's and don'ts. Now, we shall be unfair to someone who cannot participate in the elections because they are not aware of what is happening. So we've done our best to make sure that yes, the regulations and guidelines are in place. We mobilize, and then we publicize, and then also we make sure that those that are participating in these elections are given some little funds. Our staff. Our staff, right. Not the other participants. The general public, yes. Because if someone is paid their dues, they will make sure that they also do whatever is supposed to be done legally.
Diligently, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for the update. This is Wafula Paul from Manafwa District. We will be able to conduct elections for these signs at village level, really? That is a concerned citizen.
Pardon, what is Mr. Wafula saying?
Mr. Wafula, you could rephrase your question, but I think you're asking, surely, will the elections really be held? Will they be able to be conducted at village level?
Yes, we shall, because the nominations are concluding today. And elections are not only on polling day, they are processes. So the registers were extracted, they were displayed. Now the nomination is concluding at village level today. So we think that we are on the right track. Mr. Wafula, please be rest assured that we shall have these elections, and they will be free, fair, and credible.
Right. Now, Obooks, it's what I see as your WhatsApp identity. We are not able to pick voice calls, but please send your message like you've done, so that we are able to engage in whatever you have to put across as a communique. Good morning, UBC, our beloved national broadcaster. Please, I want to know from the spokesperson, EC, about what is required to be an independent candidate to participate as an MP. In other words, I am an aspiring MP as independent. Do I need a symbol right now?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Maybe let me first speak to this.
Yes.
For you to participate in these special interest groups, if you come on a political party ticket and they have endorsed you, you are a flag bearer. At village level, you come as party X, on party X ticket. Then when you progress to parish level, you find a certain Julie who's very charismatic and strong, and then you start thinking twice that maybe I should abandon this party and I go cross to another party or become an independent candidate. Yes. It's not allowed in these elections. Not allowed at all.
You stick to your party.
You stick to your party throughout, progressively. Now, to my brother, I think it's a he. For you to participate in these elections as a member of parliament, the qualifications are very clear. A citizen of Uganda, a registered voter, 18 years and above, and if you don't belong to a party, you come as an independent. The Electoral Commission, with your 3 million as nomination fees, then you come and present yourself to the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission will pick from the symbols that we have, not your own symbol, on the day of nomination. They will avail you a list of these symbols, and then you pick from those various symbols. Right now, you cannot say that I'm going to use a radio. because someone may pick that radio on the day of nomination. So what you have to do is make sure that you let your people know that I'm an independent candidate first. Then on the day of nomination, you run very fast to the Electoral Commission. You pick a symbol that you want from within the symbols that the EC has or has availed. And then, yes, you'll have your symbol. You cannot pick your symbol right now.
Right.
But if you are on a party ticket, of course, the symbols are very clear for the parties. You can start identifying yourself. Not printing campaign posters, because people are already printing campaign posters, yet the nominations are not yet done. But you can start identifying with the party as early as possible for mobilization, for funding, and everything.
Right.
Yes.
The youth being part of the special interest groups, social media is something that cannot be avoided.
Yes.
How is EC delving into the depths of social media to communicate to the youth about these elections?
We are very intentional. Actually, even in our strategic plan, we are very technology and digital outreaches. We even recently, the commissioner, deployed a senior election officer in charge of digital and web. So we are dominant. If you look at what's trending for the last 5 days, Electoral Commission is either #1 or #2, trending special interest groups. So we are very intentional. And the young people, they comprise the biggest population.
Yeah, they do.
And most of them, they are on these technologies, they are tech savvy. So what we have done is to make sure that we speak to these people the language that they understand. So we are very dominant on social media. We are responsive, because so many questions, keep on popping up, and we have made sure that all these questions have answers, so that someone does not wait for me to go on radio or TV to have these answers. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the commission, the entire commission, is moving around the entire country, talking about mobilizing the young people and talking to them against things like violence, hate speech, commercialization. And they're also very dominant on these spaces, the digital spaces. So as Electoral Commission, we are very proud, and we think this is the way to go, because social media is not only for the young people. I've seen my auntie somewhere, she keeps on with her phone and she's laughing throughout.
And it would interest you that
TikTok,
especially,
yes,
it would interest you that the senior citizens are quite big on TikTok.
Very, very big, very big.
Yes, indeed. So how does the Electoral Commission plan to boost public confidence and increase voter turnout amongst Ugandans, especially in rural areas for SIGs?
First of all, Electoral Commission does not work in isolation. We're not an island.
Right.
We work with stakeholders. Our appeal is, for us, we prepared the menu and given you the guidelines. And we're trying to, as much as possible, to sensitize, mobilize, and publicize what we have prepared. Now, we urge or call upon our stakeholders, the different stakeholders, the media, the political parties, civil society, religious leaders, to make sure that they help us to also pass on this very information to the affected or targeted groups. We have had engagements with all these stakeholders, and like I said on Wednesday, we are still calling them back to make sure that we speak the same language. That's how intentional Electoral Commission is. And we think that with the help of our stakeholders, if we are speaking from the same table,
right,
within the same room, we shall leave no stone unturned. So that's that's how the Electoral Commission is working.
Right.
We have prepared everything, and we appeal to the stakeholders. Our appeal to stakeholders: please come and mobilize. For instance, political parties, you gain from this. Why do you wait for the Electoral Commission? I've seen some political party, figures
right,
come and start bashing the process. Now, every time you bash a process, every time you criticize a process to the end, you are discouraging like 10 people from participating in it. If you find there are some loopholes or some challenges, some things that are not right, come to us so that we rectify this. We're not saying we're not immune to criticism, but you cannot be negative throughout in a process that you're participating in. So, which means you are dissuading people from participating in that very election.
Right. Let's start to bring this to a close with some of your comments. Hi, I'm Isoke from Mengo. Thank you for the program. The problem is that the awareness is not down to the lay people. We don't even know what's going on. What would you tell Isoke?
Isoke is, please, if you are not sure of what is going on, one, I think you followed this program. If you did follow the program, make sure that whatever has been passed on, you also pass it on to the rest of your colleagues and the people that you have access to. Then two, this information is very available at sub-county levels, all sub-counties across the country. Our regional offices are open, our district offices are open, the national headquarters offices are open. All this information is on our website.
Right.
The EC website.
Yes, indeed. I wanted to ask you the online display. Yes.
All this information is on, just you can visit our website.
Are there social media handles for the Electoral Commission?
Yes.
Right.
So it's as simple as that. We are big on TikTok. We are big on WhatsApp. We are big on Instagram, on X.
Right.
So you can just visit us, and all this information is displayed there.
Right. Good morning, UBC. Why is UPDF always taking full control of the election than the electoral supervisor themselves? Why are other parties always seized with police citing they are causing violence, yet ruling one being escorted, even with lead cars? Should we say elections are safe for them only? This is Mike, son of the soil.
I didn't pick Mike very well, but I think what I picked is, I think is asking why do we have UPDF all over during elections.
Right.
One, it's, as Electoral Commission, we work with the Uganda Police Force as the security organs to make sure that these elections are free and secure. Now, the Uganda Police Force, within the Constitution, is also mandated to invite sister security organs, in case they feel the capacity is not good enough or strong enough. So when you see UPDF, they are not appearing illegally in elections. They are trying to secure the process, to make sure that there is security, there is peace. That's alongside the police, the Uganda Police Force. Even times you see the prisons, I think. You've seen some prison officers moving around and some other security forces. Now, our appeal to Ugandans is, these are Ugandans dressed in uniform. They are part of us. Let's not get scared of them. Our appeal to the people, men and women in uniform, please make sure that you undertake the responsibilities that have been given to you by the Electoral Commission. Don't overstep. Don't think that this is a war zone. When you see a wananchi doing something wrong, approach them in a very, humane and dignified manner.
Right.
Instead of, pulling up a gun, kicking them.
Right.
Yes, we know some of these people are rowdy, but make sure that you don't cause chaos. So our appeal to both is the voters and then men in uniform.
Maintain peace.
Maintain peace.
Right.
And respect.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Nsube. He is the Senior PR of the Electoral Commission, and he's been speaking with us regarding special interest group elections. These elections matter, all right? And if your voice is to be heard at the table and at the senior level of matters, Ugandan matters, then you have to start participating from the grassroots level. So from special interest groups, for as long as you qualify, please be a part of them. Engage, participate, because it's about you ultimately. You are the end and ultimate consumer of everything in this electoral process. Good morning, Uganda.
Thank you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth.
The argument that the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvest in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geography we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.